What's up, guys? And today I'm going to be giving you a overview of the Silent Hill chapter, the 4.0.0 PTB that just came out today. There is a new survivor in Cheryl Mason, and the new killer is Pyramid Head, or the Executioner. And both of them have very interesting perks and play very interestingly, And the new map is Midwich Elementary School. Honestly, the new map is just massive. It's very hard to know where you're at all times. There's two stories, and there's a middle area, more like an outside area. There's breakable walls everywhere. The elementary school honestly is a very tough map for any killer to play on, and I'm interested to see how it plays into the live build and if they do any more adjustments to that map. But currently, my opinion on that new map is it looks very cool but plays very rough. Anyway, let's get into the perks of the Executioner. The first perk is going to be Deathbound. When a survivor heals another survivor for one health state at least 32 meters away from the killer, the survivor performing the healing action will scream, revealing their location and activating Deathbound for the next 45 seconds. During that time, the survivor will suffer from the oblivious status effect further than 8 meters away from the healed survivor. So what this means is that in order for survivors to not be oblivious, they need to be right next to each other, and this encourages them to be right next to each other when healing. This also gives information to the killer when the two survivors have healed. And although this is like interesting in a weird way, like it gives you information with the scream, and it also makes survivors oblivious if they don't stick next to each other, this isn't gonna do too much in the grand scheme of things when playing with like different killers inside of the game. I think there's just way better perks to punish survivors for healing and being closer together, or forcing survivors to be close together, I guess, leads to more slugging. But the punishment for not being close together is not too hard and harsh on the survivor. Like the oblivious status effect can get applied with retribution and nemesis, and it doesn't really do too much to the survivor. Anyway, on to the next perk. Forced penance. Those who stand in the way of duty will suffer harsh judgment. Survivors who take a protection hit are inflicted with the broken status effect for 30 seconds. This perk is doo-doo. It is not good at all. You should not be able to use this perk often in any of your games unless people are taking body blocks at the end game or taking body blocks for saboing hooks. But it's very niche scenarios, and even the downside on it though is just broken status effect for 30 seconds. It's not a long time. It could kind of deter survivors saving at the end game and running back at the hook to save their teammates. But other than that, it's just not useful throughout the entire game. You're better off running any other perk in the game other than this perk. Anyway, now onto the last perk. This perk is very interesting to me, and because I feel like I could be running this perk on Billy and Oni and maybe even on other killers. You guide your victims along a path of pain and punishment. After kicking a generator, you become undetectable for 15 seconds. During this time, the generator's yellow aura is revealed to survivors. This effect can only trigger once every 80 seconds. The cooldown's a little bit long, but the upside of 15 seconds of undetectable is really good. Although this does notify you when this does notify the survivors when you are undetectable. It will mark the generator that you kicked in yellow. So all the survivors know when you're undetectable, but of course, this is just way past. It doesn't really matter if they know this because they just have to be more aware, I guess. The yellow aura provides them the information that they need to be more aware, but having no heartbeat, having no red stain leads to being able to surprise survivors, and they might not even notice the yellow generator. So like on Oni or on Billy, this could be really good on jumping survivors on generators with a perk like Discordance or Surveillance or something like that, or like any information perk like Barbecue and Chili. Kick a gen and then head to their generator, and you can possibly even get like a big slog fest going on at that generator. I think this is a very fun perk. It could be a great like alternative to a Dark Devotion build that you might want to run on Oni or Billy. And yeah, I think this can be put into some builds. It's not the greatest perk in the world, but I think it could play very interestingly. I think it's a very fun perk. Anyway, onto Cheryl's perks. Onto Cheryl's perks. Soul Guard. This is a very, very, very controversial perk among everyone in the Dead by Daylight community right now, because it's honestly the best perk for Survivor in a long time. Gain the endurance status effect for 8 seconds after being healed or having recovered from the dying state, meaning somebody picks you up from the floor. While cursed by a hex, you can also fully recover from the dying state. So like a mini unbreakable essentially. So this perk's very interesting because for example, this does very well with For the People. So if you run at somebody, For the People them, and the killer decides to hit the person you picked up, that person will go into deep wound instead of immediately going down, and that play no longer is a stupid play, and you can be more flexible with For the People. This is going to be very interesting in endgame scenarios, and just running at survivors with For the People. I think this is a very, very good perk for anybody in the game. And while Cursed by a Hex fully recovering from the dying state, it's a weird trade-off, and I'm not sure how I feel about it personally, but I feel like it's going to be very strong, because now you're able to pick up yourself when you're getting slugged and a person has a Hex perk active, but you also have to decide on whether you want to keep that Hex perk up and let that like downside persist of, like, say, Ruin and Noed are going to be like really hard countered by Soul Guard, in my opinion. And we'll see how survivors play with this perk. I'm very interested. It's a very, very good perk, and I hope it doesn't get touched into the live build. I hope it stays the exact same. Anyway, on to the next one, Blood Pact. When you or the Obsession are injured, you both see each other's auras. After healing the Obsession or being healed by the Obsession, you both gain the haste status effect for 8 seconds. Reduces the odds of you being the Obsession. If you are the Obsession, this perk deactivates. Now, the haste status effect doesn't mean sprint burst speed, it means like hope speed. This perk is not that great. Let's just get that straight. This perk is pretty bad. You're better off running something like Aftercare, which gives you more of a aura reading ability than this perk does, and the haste status effect is almost like non-existent. It doesn't really matter. It's 8 seconds on tier 3. It's not great. So this is probably going to be one of those perks that belong in the tier of, say, like Buckle Up, where it's just kind of useless and no one's going to use it. But I mean, it's cool to have in the game, I guess. And on to the next one, Repressed Alliance. Repressed Alliance activates after repairing generators for a total of 60 seconds. When repairing a generator while the perk is active, press the active ability button to call upon the entity to block the generator for 30 seconds. The perk deactivates. See, now this perk seems like a troll griefing kind of perk, right? When you repair a generator for 60 seconds, you can block somebody's perk and then screw over the survivor in a sense. But this perk can play very well if you're just trying to use it for yourself. This will completely stop a killer from Pop Goes the Weasel in your gen, or if you are playing against, say, an Oni or a Billy, and you see that somebody's on hook or somebody's slugged, and you want to and you see that they also have Ruin, you can block your generator, go after that, save or unhook, and maybe even completely negate the Ruin and come back to your generator, work on it, and there's no regression. And I think this perk can play very, very well against a killer, but you also have to keep in mind that once you block your generator, you can't touch it for 30 seconds. So if you accidentally use it, you're kind of screwed out of it for 30 seconds. You have to use your brain when you use this perk, and I kind of like it. It's very, very interesting, and I love the idea behind it. I really, really do. And this is like a really cool perk that Behavior designed. And I hope to see more perks like this, honestly, in the future, because stuff like this is just very interesting to use long game. Anyway, there's also one balance change inside of the game, and that would be Clown is no longer slowed when throwing bottles. This is a minuscule change. This isn't going to do much with Clown, but it's a beautiful quality of life update for Clown. So that annoying slowdown that he has while throwing bottles is no longer a thing. Anyway, the Executioner's power, or Pyramid Head's power, is also very, very strong, in my opinion. I think it's a very good power. I don't think it's OP, but I think it's very, very strong. The fact that he is able to sort of put down a shockwave on the floor, feather it as well, and go through walls is very, very strong. But the fact that he's unable to aim it due to his camera being locked and you can't move while aiming it is very, very tough for Pyramid Head. And I think that balances out everything that he has to do with the shockwave ability. And I think it's really nice and fun to play against as well. I don't think it's like oppressive or boring. And I think everything about Pyramid Head and his like ability is just very, very fun and interactive. But again, we'll see once we enter the live build, once we start seeing full builds for the Executioner and full builds for the new Survivor perks and all that, and how they interact with SWFs and the other killers in the game. I'm very interested to see what people come up with. I think Trail of Torment's gonna be a fun perk to play on many killers. And I think Soul Guard might be creeping into the meta soon enough. So we'll be able to see what comes out of these perks. This is definitely a great direction DBD is taking, and I'm very excited for the future of DBD, and I can't wait to see what comes in the future with all these new mechanics and map features. And thank you guys for watching. I really do appreciate it, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Thank you guys so much. Bye-bye.